Commander Vex 9 of the Galactic Reclamation Fleet stared at the blue marble spinning lazily below his flagship. Earth, the third rock from that yellow dwarf star that had once housed the most stubborn, irritating, and downright impossible species the galaxy had ever known. Humans. Status report. Navigator Blitz, Vex commanded, his forearms crossing in what passed for confident posture among his kind. All systems green, Commander. The planet shows minimal electromagnetic signatures. Atmospheric composition. Well, it's breathable if you're into that whole oxygen thing. Blitz's tentacles danced across the control interface with practiced ease. Frankly, sir, it looks deader than my grandmother's cooking. Vex allowed himself a chuckle. 500,000 years. That's how long it had taken for the Cosmic Alliance to finally work up the nerve to return to this backwater world. Not because they were scared, mind you. Oh no, the mighty Alliance feared nothing. They'd simply been busy, very busy, with extremely important galactic matters that definitely didn't involve avoiding Earth like it was radioactive. Sir, Science Officer Crix piped up from her station, her voice carrying that particular tone that usually preceded bad news. Initial scans are showing some interesting readings. Define interesting, Crix. Are we talking, wow, look at these pretty flowers interesting, or run for your lives before something eats us interesting? Crix's scales shifted to a nervous purple. More like the second one, sir. I'm detecting massive underground complexes, some kind of technology that's, well, it shouldn't exist. The energy signatures are off the charts. Vex felt his confidence waver slightly. The last time the Alliance had encountered human technology, half their fleet had mysteriously developed what the engineers called aggressive mechanical failures. Purely coincidental, of course. Humans couldn't possibly have sabotaged 12 dreadnoughts simultaneously while being bombed into apparent extinction. Could they? Landing party preparations are complete, Commander, announced Lieutenant Zapp, his voice carrying the enthusiasm of someone who'd never actually met a human. Squads Alpha through Delta are ready for deployment. We've got enough firepower to level a continent. Fantastic, Vex muttered. Because the last time someone said that about humans, we ended up retreating to the Andromeda Galaxy for a century-long coffee break. The bridge fell silent, except for the gentle humming of life support systems and the occasional nervous gulp from junior officers who'd heard the stories. Oh yes, everyone had heard the stories. How humans had somehow turned their own planet into a death trap. How they'd made surrender look like victory and defeat seem like strategic repositioning. Sir, if I may. Navigator Blitz's voice was unusually hesitant. The old records mention something called guerrilla warfare. Should we be concerned about guerrillas? Vex stared at his navigator. Sometimes he wondered how Blitz had passed the academy exams. No, Blitz. Not actual guerrillas, though knowing humans, they probably trained those too. The massive view screen flickered to life, showing Earth in all its deceptively peaceful glory. Clouds drifted lazily across continents that looked remarkably green for a supposedly dead world. Oceans sparkled under sunlight, and if you squinted just right, you could almost forget that this planet had once produced the galaxy's most infuriating species. Begin descent sequence, Vex ordered, trying to project more confidence than he felt. Target the largest landmass. Whatever's left down there, we'll find it. Aye, sir. Descent initiated. ETA to surface. 15 minutes. Pilot Rex's hands were steady on the controls, but Vex noticed the slight tremor in his voice. Good. A healthy dose of paranoia kept crews alive when dealing with human remnants. As they descended through Earth's atmosphere, Vex couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Which was ridiculous, of course. His ship's sensors would detect anything larger than a space mouse within a 1,000-kilometer radius. The planet was empty. Dead. Finished. Right? "Commander!" Crix's voice cracked with excitement and terror in equal measure. "I'm reading massive power spikes across the planet's surface. Something's activating." The view screen exploded with light as defense grids that shouldn't exist powered up across every continent. Orbital platforms that definitely hadn't been there 5 minutes ago materialized from what looked like empty space. And in the center of it all, rising from what appeared to be solid ground, came the impossible. A space elevator. Not just any space elevator, but one that stretched up through the atmosphere like a giant middle finger pointed directly at the stars. At the Alliance. At everyone who'd thought Earth was done. "How in the name of the 7 nebulae is that thing still standing?" Vex demanded. "Our bombardment 500,000 years ago should have turned this planet into cosmic dust." "Sir," Crix whispered, her scales now a deep shade of "we're all going to die" violet, "I don't think we bombed the real Earth." "What do you mean we didn't bomb the real Earth?" "I was there. I saw the explosions. I filled out the paperwork." "The energy readings, sir, they're suggesting." "Well, they're suggesting that what we bombed was some kind of holographic projection. A decoy planet." Vex felt his stomach drop into his boots. Or at least, it would have if his species wore boots. The implications were staggering. Humans had somehow convinced the entire Galactic Alliance that they'd successfully destroyed Earth while the real planet sat hidden right under their noses for 500,000 years. "Incoming transmission, Commander," Communications Officer Beep announced. "It's coming from the surface." "On screen." The view screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at something that made Vex's worst nightmares seem like pleasant dreams. It was definitely human, though human seemed inadequate to describe what they were seeing. The figure stood roughly 7 feet tall, covered in what appeared to be living armor that shifted and flowed like liquid metal. The face was visible beneath a translucent helmet, showing features that were undeniably human, but somehow more. The eyes glowed with an inner light that suggested intelligence far beyond what humans should possess. When it spoke, its voice carried across the bridge with crystal clarity and just a hint of amusement. "Well, well, look what the cosmic cat dragged in. Commander Vex 9 of the Galactic Reclamation Fleet. I've been expecting you." Vex tried to speak, failed, tried again, and finally managed to croak out, "You know who I am?" The human smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. "Oh, I know lots of things, Commander. For instance, I know you've been sitting out there in space for the past 3 hours, working up the courage to actually land. I know your ship's reactor has a slight instability in the third plasma conduit. And I know that right about now, you're wondering how a supposedly extinct species managed to upgrade themselves while you weren't looking." "Impossible," Vex breathed. "Humans were primitives. You barely had space travel when we arrived." "Primitives?" The human laughed, and the sound somehow managed to be both melodic and terrifying. "Commander, you invaded our world expecting to find cave-dwelling knuckle-draggers. Instead, you found a species that had been exploring the galaxy for thousands of years while pretending to be stuck on one little planet." Lieutenant Zapp chose that moment to demonstrate why he was still a lieutenant. "Sir, should I target their weapon systems?" The human on the screen turned slightly, as if looking directly at Zapp. "I wouldn't recommend that, Lieutenant. Your targeting computers are having a bit of trouble right about now." Every weapons console on the bridge simultaneously displayed the same message. Weapon systems temporarily unavailable. Please try again later. How are you doing this? Vex demanded. Trade secret, the human replied cheerfully. But I will give you a hint. Remember how your species loves to brag about having quantum-entangled communications across the galaxy? Well, we invented that technology about 50,000 years ago. We've been listening to every conversation, reading every message, and watching every cat video you've ever shared. Beep looked confused. What's a cat video? Something that will haunt your dreams, my friend. Something that will haunt your dreams. The human continued. My name, by the way, is Marcus Kane. I'm what you might call humanity's official welcoming committee. And before you ask, no, I'm not the only one left. There are dozens of us scattered across the galaxy, keeping an eye on things, making sure the neighborhood stays peaceful. Dozens! Vex's voice came out as a squeak. But our intelligence reports indicated complete extinction. Marcus chuckled. Your intelligence reports were written by us. Amazing what you can accomplish with a few well-placed operatives and some creative fiction writing. We've been feeding your government false information for centuries. Honestly, it was almost too easy. The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. If humans had been manipulating Alliance intelligence for centuries, what else didn't they know? So what happens now? Vex asked, trying to regain some semblance of authority. Do you destroy us? Enslave us? Force us to watch those cat videos? Marcus pretended to consider the options. Tempting, but no. See, humanity learned something important during our little vacation from galactic politics. We learned that running an interstellar civilization is incredibly annoying. There's paperwork, committee meetings, diplomatic dinners where you have to pretend to enjoy fermented plankton soup. Honestly, we're much happier letting you handle all that bureaucratic nonsense. Then why reveal yourselves now? Because, Commander Vex 9, you and your fleet represent the 7th attempt in the past 50 years to reclaim Earth. The previous 6 fleets mysteriously developed navigation errors and ended up exploring distant nebulae instead. But you actually made it here. That shows either remarkable persistence or remarkable stupidity. Either way, it's time we had a little chat. The space elevator continued its impossible ascent, now reaching well beyond the planet's atmosphere. Defense platforms hummed with barely contained energy, and Vex was beginning to suspect that every star in the sky might actually be a disguised human battleship. What do you want from us? He asked finally. Marcus's expression turned serious. Simple. Go back to your precious Alliance. Tell them Earth is under new management. Tell them humanity appreciates their concern. But we're doing just fine on our own. And tell them that the next fleet that shows up uninvited is going to find out exactly why humans were considered galactically dangerous in the first place. And if they don't listen? The human's smile returned, but this time it held absolutely no warmth whatsoever. Commander, do you remember the Keth Empire? They used to control half the galaxy until they mysteriously vanished overnight about 200,000 years ago. Vex nodded slowly. They didn't listen either. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Outside the viewports, Earth looked exactly the same as it had moments before, but now every cloud seemed potentially hostile, and every ocean might be hiding unimaginable weapons. Commander, Rex said quietly. Orders? Vex stared at the planet below, weighing his options. He could fight, probably die, and definitely become a cautionary tale told at Academy graduation ceremonies. Or he could retreat, live to see another day, and spend the rest of his career explaining how humans had apparently conquered death, time, and common sense, while the rest of the galaxy wasn't paying attention. When he put it that way, the choice seemed obvious. Set course for home, pilot. Maximum speed. Aye, sir. Departing Earth orbit. As the fleet turned away from the blue marble that had once seemed so harmless, Vex couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. Humanity had revealed itself for a reason, and somehow he doubted it was just to exchange pleasantries. Whatever game they were playing, it was far from finished. And Vex was beginning to suspect that the Alliance had never been players at all. They'd been pieces on the board. The question was, what was humanity's next move? 3 days had passed since Commander Vex 9's hasty retreat from Earth, and the Alliance High Council chambers buzzed with the kind of nervous energy that usually preceded galactic wars or cafeteria food poisoning outbreaks. "Explain to me again," Supreme Chancellor Quarks rumbled, his massive bulk making the reinforced chair creak ominously, "how an extinct species managed to hijack our most advanced warship's computer systems using what appears to be interpretive dance." Vex cleared his throat nervously. Standing before the Council of 12 always made him feel like a misbehaving schoolchild, but today was particularly uncomfortable given the circumstances. With respect, Chancellor, Marcus Kane didn't dance. He just existed aggressively. "Existed aggressively," repeated Councillor Thyma, her crystalline form refracting light in patterns that suggested extreme skepticism. "That's your official report?" "The human demonstrated capabilities that defy our understanding of physics, biology, and basic common sense," Vex elaborated. "He knew things about our ships, our personnel, our technology that should be impossible. And he did it all while maintaining what I can only describe as insufferable smugness." Council member Drix, a blob-like entity who communicated through color changes, shifted to deep red, which everyone knew meant either anger or indigestion. Given the morning's breakfast selection, it could go either way. "The real question," interrupted Defense Minister Grax, "is what we do about it. Humans were supposed to be handled 500 millennia ago. Instead, they've apparently been playing cosmic hide-and-seek while evolving into something that makes our worst nightmares look like pleasant daydreams." Chancellor Quarks activated the central holographic display, showing Earth in all its deceptively peaceful glory. "Intelligence suggests the planet is now covered in defensive installations that weren't there a week ago. Either humans are the galaxy's fastest construction workers, or they've been preparing for this moment for 500,000 years," finished Councillor Vark, his spider-like appendages clicking nervously on his seat. "The implications are disturbing." What none of them knew was that their conversation was being monitored by someone sitting in a comfortable chair roughly 42 light-years away, sipping what appeared to be coffee while reading their lips through quantum-entangled surveillance techniques that wouldn't be invented by the Alliance for another 1,000 years. Marcus Kane set down his mug and activated a communication device that looked suspiciously like a smartphone, if smartphones could bend space-time and order pizza from other galaxies. "Sarah, you getting this?" he asked. The response came immediately. "Every word, Marcus. Though I have to admit, I'm slightly offended that Vex called you insufferably smug. You're much worse than that." Sarah Mitchell materialized beside him as her personal cloaking field deactivated. Where Marcus appeared to be humanity-enhanced, Sarah looked like humanity perfected. Her biomechanical upgrades were seamlessly integrated, making her appear simultaneously ancient and futuristic. "Status report on Project Looking Glass?" Marcus inquired. "Phase 1 is complete. We've successfully convinced the Alliance that Earth is heavily defended by mysterious super technology. Phase 2 begins when they inevitably send a larger fleet to test our capabilities. Marcus chuckled. And Phase 3? We reveal that Earth's defenses consist of exactly 7 humans, 3 really sophisticated hologram generators, and the galaxy's most advanced practical joke apparatus. Don't forget the orbital platforms. Marcus, the orbital platforms are cardboard cutouts with LED lights. I'm amazed their sensors haven't figured that out yet. Meanwhile, back in the council chambers, panic was setting in with the efficiency of a well-oiled machine. I propose immediate mobilization, declared Minister Grax, pounding his tentacle on the table for emphasis. We gather every available ship, every weapon, every soldier in the Alliance. We show these upstart humans that the galaxy has moved on without them. And if we lose? Asked Councillor Thyma quietly. The chamber fell silent. The question hung in the air like a particularly ominous storm cloud. Chancellor Quarks leaned forward. Commander Vex, in your professional opinion, what are we dealing with? Vex considered his words carefully. Based on my observations, sir, I believe humans have evolved beyond our ability to comprehend, let alone combat. They've had 500,000 years to develop technology, while we believed they were extinct. They know everything about us, while we know nothing about them. And worst of all, yes, they seem to think this whole situation is funny. Back on Earth, Marcus was reviewing intelligence reports that would have given Alliance security officers severe anxiety attacks. The Zephyrian Third Fleet is mobilizing, he noted. 200 ships, including their new dreadnoughts. Impressive. Sarah laughed. Remember when 200 ships seemed like a lot? Now I'm wondering if we should let them get closer before springing the surprise. What surprise would that be? The one where we reveal that humans have been running the galaxy from behind the scenes for centuries? Or the one where we show them our actual capabilities? I was thinking more along the lines of introducing them to Bob. Marcus paused. You want to unleash Bob on them? That seems excessive. Bob volunteered. Besides, he's been practicing his terrifying alien encounter routine. You know how he gets when he doesn't have an audience. 3 hours later, the Alliance's largest military fleet in recorded history dropped out of hyperspace around Earth. Admiral Krex, commanding from the bridge of the mighty battleship Inevitable Victory, stared at the planet that had caused so much trouble. All ships, battle formations, prepare for immediate planetary bombardment. This time, we make sure the job is done properly. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, sensors are detecting massive energy buildups across the planet's surface. Whatever they're planning, it's big. Let them come, Krex growled. We have enough firepower to crack this world like an egg. That's when Bob arrived. Bob was, by human standards, perfectly ordinary. Average height, slightly balding, with the kind of face you'd forget 5 minutes after meeting him at a grocery store. He wore a simple jumpsuit and carried what appeared to be a briefcase. What made Bob special was his job description: freelance reality adjuster. He materialized directly in front of Admiral Krex's flagship, standing in open space without any visible life support, smiling and waving as if he'd just run into an old friend at a coffee shop. Incoming transmission, Admiral, the communications officer reported, his voice cracking slightly. On screen! Bob's cheerful face filled the view screen. Hello there. I'm Bob. I understand you folks are having some concerns about Earth's new management. I'm here to address those concerns in a calm, rational, and hopefully non-explosive manner. Admiral Krex had commanded fleets through 17 different wars, faced down cosmic horrors that could drive lesser beings insane, and once successfully negotiated a peace treaty with sentient black holes. But something about Bob's aggressively normal appearance was deeply unsettling. "You're in violation of Alliance space," Krex declared. "Surrender immediately or face the consequences." Bob's smile widened. "Oh, Admiral, I think there's been a misunderstanding. See, this isn't Alliance space anymore. This is human space. Has been for about, 300,000 years now. We just let you think you were in charge because, frankly, the paperwork was getting ridiculous. Impossible. We control this sector." "Do you?" Bob opened his briefcase and pulled out what looked like a rubber stamp. "Because according to our records, filed with the Cosmic Property Management Office in Triplicate, Earth, and everything within a 50-light-year radius belongs to Humanity Incorporated, a wholly owned subsidiary of We Told You So Enterprises." He held up an official-looking document. "See? It's all perfectly legal. We even paid the filing fees, though inflation over 500,000 years made that quite expensive." Admiral Krex felt reality beginning to slip away from him. This is preposterous. Even if such documents existed, they would have no legal standing. "Oh, but they do," Bob said cheerfully. "Especially since we wrote most of the laws you're currently operating under. Amazing what you can accomplish with a few strategically placed legal consultants and a really good understanding of bureaucratic loopholes." The Admiral turned to his legal officer. "Is this possible?" The legal officer, a Vorthon who'd spent centuries studying galactic law, was frantically checking databases. His scales had turned the particular shade of green that indicated either nausea or existential crisis. "Sir," he whispered, "the documents appear to be legitimate, and according to subsection 447B of the Galactic Property Rights Act, any species that can demonstrate continuous occupation and improvement of a celestial body for more than 100,000 years has irrevocable claim to said body and surrounding space." "But humans were extinct." "Actually," Bob interjected helpfully, "we were just really good at hide and seek. There's a difference, though I understand the confusion." Admiral Krex was beginning to experience what psychologists would later classify as an acute reality adjustment disorder. "Even if your claims are legal, we have the firepower to simply take what we want." Bob's expression turned sad, like a disappointed teacher addressing a particularly slow student. "Oh, Admiral, you really haven't been paying attention, have you?" He reached into his briefcase again and pulled out what appeared to be a TV remote control. "You see, while you've been busy playing Galactic Empire for the past few centuries, we've been making some improvements to local space-time. Nothing too dramatic, just a few minor adjustments to the fundamental laws of physics in this area." Bob pointed the remote at the Alliance fleet and pressed a button. Every ship in the Armada simultaneously experienced what their engineers would later describe as aggressive mechanical politeness. Weapon systems began apologizing for their inability to function. Life support systems started offering complimentary beverages, and navigation computers began suggesting alternate career paths for their operators. "What have you done?" Krex demanded. "Oh, nothing permanent," Bob assured him. "Your ships are just experiencing a temporary case of enhanced helpfulness. Side effects may include involuntary courtesy, spontaneous offering of snacks, and an overwhelming desire to find peaceful solutions to conflicts." As if to prove his point, the ship's main computer announced over the intercom, "Attention, crew. This is your friendly neighborhood AI. I've taken the liberty of preparing cucumber sandwiches for everyone. Also, might I suggest we resolve this disagreement through interpretive dance rather than violence? I've prepared several lovely routines." Admiral Krex looked around his bridge, watching his crew members unconsciously begin swaying to music only they could hear. "This is impossible," he muttered. "Admiral," Bob said gently, "you keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. You see, when a species has 500,000 years to develop technology, while everyone thinks they're dead, impossible becomes more of a starting point than a limitation." The transmission continued as Bob sat down in what appeared to be a comfortable chair that definitely hadn't been there moments before. "Here's what's going to happen," he explained, pulling out a thermos and pouring himself a cup of tea. "You're going to take your very polite fleet back to Alliance headquarters. You're going to file a report explaining that Earth is under human protection and is not available for conquest, colonization, or weekend visits without proper documentation. And you're going to include this helpful brochure about respecting other people's property." A small booklet materialized on Krex's command console titled, "So You Want to Invade Someone's Homeworld: A Beginner's Guide to Why That's Rude." "In return," Bob continued, "humanity will continue to allow the Alliance to exist, maintain galactic peace from a comfortable distance, and occasionally provide helpful suggestions for improving your various governmental inefficiencies. And if we refuse?" Bob's smile took on a quality that suggested the universe might want to find somewhere else to be for a while. "Well, Admiral, let me tell you about the time we convinced an entire galaxy that physics worked differently, just to see if we could. Spoiler alert, we could, and did, and it was hilarious." The view screen flickered, showing images of impossible structures, technologies that defied comprehension, and what appeared to be a planet-sized arcade game with a score display reading "High Score Humans, 847,392,847,291 points." "The point is," Bob concluded, standing up and straightening his entirely ordinary jumpsuit, "humanity isn't looking for trouble. We're perfectly happy to let you run your little galactic civilization while we focus on more important things, like perfecting our recipe for interdimensional pizza and teaching dolphins advanced mathematics." He paused. "But if you insist on bothering us, well, we've had a very long time to get creative with our problem-solving techniques." Admiral Krex stared at the humans standing impossibly in open space, sipping tea and radiating the kind of casual confidence that suggested he could probably rearrange solar systems if he felt like it. "One final question," the Admiral managed. "If humans are so advanced, why reveal yourselves now? Why not remain hidden?" Bob's expression softened slightly. "Because, Admiral Krex, we've been watching the galaxy for 500,000 years. We've seen empires rise and fall, species evolve and go extinct, and countless civilizations struggle with the same problems over and over again. And we've learned something important." He gestured toward the stars. "The universe is a big, strange, wonderful place filled with incredible diversity. But it's also dangerous, and sometimes the best way to protect something precious is to make sure everyone knows exactly where the boundaries are." Bob finished his tea and set the cup down on nothing at all, where it promptly vanished. "Earth is humanity's home, Admiral. It always has been, and it always will be. We're not looking for an empire or conquest or galactic domination. We just want to make sure that when we decide to have a barbecue in our backyard, we don't have to worry about uninvited guests showing up with weapons." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge of the inevitable victory in complete silence, except for the gentle humming of systems that were now politely refusing to target anything. Admiral Krex sat heavily in his command chair and did what any reasonable military commander would do when faced with the impossible. He filed a report recommending immediate diplomatic contact with humanity, included a formal apology for the intrusion, and quietly put in a request for early retirement. 3 weeks later, the first Human Alliance cultural exchange program began with a simple message broadcast across the galaxy. Welcome to Earth. Please wipe your feet, respect the local wildlife, and remember that the third rock from the sun is under new management. Humans, we're back, we're improved, and we make excellent coffee. Inquire within for trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and really good pizza recipes. And somewhere in the vast reaches of space, Marcus Kane and Sarah Mitchell raise their coffee mugs in a toast to the successful completion of humanity's greatest magic trick, convincing the galaxy that extinct species could file legal paperwork. The universe, as it turned out, had quite the sense of humor. It just took humans 500,000 years to prove it.